Alrighty. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Central Youth Project podcast. I finally said it right. So Dan gave us a hefty sermon on Proverbs 8, 1 through 36. But before we get jumping into the discussion questions, we got some icebreakers. Icebreaker number 1. First of all, I got to introduce ourselves. I forgot about that part. My name is Patrick. We got Leeam.
Hi.
Mikalah.
Hi.
And Danathy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
Icebreaker number 1. This is going great so far. Which is better, coffee or tea?
Tea.
I can't drink coffee. I really love coffee, but I can't drink it. So tea.
I
It's
hate the
definitely
taste of
coffee.
coffee.
I
hate it so
I
much.
love coffee. It's so good. But
Kevin got me a
can't drink
frappe,
it.
and it was like hot as heck outside.
Kevin.
I was cleaning the plane.
Well, why didn't he get you an iced coffee?
He did. It was like a
It's
frappe.
yeah,
It was like a
frappuccino.
cappuccino. Frappe.
Frappe.
Frappuccino.
Okay, so I got you a cold coffee. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and it was just like, it was a nice gesture, but I just liked it. I did not like the taste, but I still drank
It's
the
so
whole
good
thing.
though.
But
They're delicious.
it's like coffee, and it's like.
But-
It's coffee and chocolate and ice.
But tea is better
It's
because
like a milkshake, but with
we
coffee.
determined that apple cider is a tea, so
Apple cider is my favorite.
Apple cider's not a tea.
Iced tea, though?
A tea is like you have a bag of some sort of herb or something like that. You steep in
a
water.
bag of some sort of
Oh.
herb and you.
Yeah.
You've never been to the South, huh? They just dump sugar and water and call it a day. It's tea!
No, it still has a tea bag in it.
That's true. We won't
There's
talk
tea
about
mix though.
Anyways, next
that.
one.
Sweet tea, it's beautiful.
Stop it.
Apple
Icebreaker
cider.
number 2. What fictional world would you like to visit? Which one would you not die in?
That was interesting.
There's too many to choose from.
Welcome to the part of the podcast where we all.
What's the one
30 seconds
called
of silence.
from the
Lyrian?
books we were... What?
Lyrian?
Yeah. I want
Lyrian, everybody.
I really want to go to Lyrian.
There's about
It's
2
really
people
cool.
who've ever heard of that, and they're in this room, so.
What book series is that from?
It's from Beyonders. It's a very good book series.
Beyonders.
It's some good stuff, dog.
Not to be confused
That or
with
Middle
Beyonce,
Earth.
got it.
Oh my gosh.
There were no rings on it, okay?
Okay.
What do you think, Liam?
Middle Earth would be cool too.
But death, though.
The Shire.
But like,
Yeah, I was gonna say Middle Earth for me.
but if you can't
Yeah,
choose
that'd be
where you're
cool.
gonna be put, you might just end up in like some orc outfit and you get a big nose, and then you're just like, and then you start killing people.
Whoa, whoa.
That escalated very quickly.
You know.
What fictional world would you like to visit?
Visiting it.
But what if
It'd be
you
cool to go be able to like see the Shire and everything, and like
just go as like a spectator?
give Gandalf a high five.
Yo,
Gandhi!
Like, son,
Got some leaf?
Wait,
Sorry.
Gandalf the Grey or
Okay.
Gandalf the White?
Yeah, do not
Gandalf,
pass.
Gandalf.
Grandolph the Grey or Grandolph the Fat?
I'm gonna say Gandalf.
It's Gandalf's grandpa.
That's my Grandolph.
Calm down. Deep breath.
Probably Star Wars or something. That'd be interesting.
Star Wars.
Yes.
Hmm.
The great galaxies of
Mm.
the Empire. So, icebreaker number 3. Would you rather be able to teleport or fly?
Fly.
Well, we all know the answer to my question.
Really?
Have you understood what line of work I am in?
But you're flying a plane. I feel like that's different than like being a person flying in the air.
Goggles exist.
You ever think about the fact that like they show in movies where they're like laying forward as they're flying, but like if you think about it, that almost seems impossible with your legs. Like you would seem like you would be like in an L shape because your legs would be hanging.
Oh, yeah!
Unless you got like that muscle right here, I don't think it's
Working
gonna
on
work.
those
It's
glutes.
just gonna be like your legs hanging. Have you ever thought about that?
Well, aerodynamics, though, if you're going like 100 miles an hour...
Well, if
there's
you
a
can
point
go that
where-
fast though.
So, I'll say, wow.
like a slow grandma flight where your legs are just just hanging out. You're going like 5 miles.
Because even when you think about it, like on zip lines, if you're on your stomach, they have something to hold up like your legs. If you're like, or if you're in like a hang glider or something, your legs. Or
Well, if you're going
being held
fast
up.
enough, wouldn't the
But-
wind pull your legs up?
But can you go that fast?
You
is
see,
the
like-
thing.
Well,
Counter argument.
Theoretically.
Counter argument. They have those wingsuits, and those legs are straight out, and they just like there's no. It's just like.
But you're
a little-
falling.
But
It's
you're-
a controlled
you're gliding.
fall.
Don't you have like a parachute in between your legs?
Yeah.
But you
And
glide.
it's a controlled
have a
fall
pair-
too. Like I mean, if you think about skydiving, your legs are pretty well. They're not straight, but you like they're
Backwards.
Yeah. But like think about it, like it's still controlled falling basically, which is different.
But it's more like
If you were going straight, your legs would
horizontal
be.
motion. Yeah.
Unless you were going really, really fast, I don't think it would work.
I would pick the unpopular teleportation
Why?
for sure.
Yeah, why?
Ease. So flying would be like a
Watch out for the
would
airplanes.
be like a hobby. What you'd be a hobby where you do like figure out a bunch of different things, like etiquette, like flying by people or like whatever.
That's
and, like,
true.
It would take time to get places still, as opposed to like going to work.
Until you accidentally teleport
what's
to
the
somebody's
fun in that?
bathroom or something. Or a wall.
you usually control.
It depends on what
you
you've been
do
watching. Like sometimes you see teleportation and it's like you can only get like an estimate. You can't get exactly where you want to be.
So I would want exact teleportation.
Yes.
Especially if like the terrain changes. Like if you saw it one time and then you tried to go again and it's completely different, there's a chance it's not gonna work very well.
Exact, not approximate. I wonder where I'm gonna end up today.
I would like to go to work direction.
I might end up in
Pop up in Everett.
Petty.
This isn't right. Let's try again.
The probability of you going somewhere completely different increases every time you teleport.
Oh.
Oh. Now we've started a movie series.
Yes. I would totally rather go for flight because it's really not that complicated unless you're trying to land somewhere.
Yeah, how do you land? I guess you just slow down. And then land.
I'm talking about like talking to people on the
I
radio.
know, no, I'm talking about flying though. Now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, so you slow
Just
down.
Stick your feet out as far as you can.
Oh, you're not talking about a plane. You're
No,
talking about-
like actual.
Huh. I don't know.
Okay.
You just like sort of land on your face and then open your mouth and eventually there'd be enough dirt and you'd stop. So discussion.
Ow! The amount of gravel you'd swallow, that would be painful.
The dental spills are just terrible. Alright, discussion number 1. Read verses 1 through 3. We need a designated Bible reader. Liam.
That's
Bookend.
That's a big title.
I'm not a bookend this time.
You're right. Liam is the booking. Go ahead. 1 through 3.
I'm dying over here.
Go ahead!
Does not wisdom call? Does not understanding raise her voice? On the heights beside the way, at the crossroads she takes her stand. Beside the gates in front of the town, at the entrance of the portals she cries aloud.
How does wisdom contrast herself to the immoral woman?
Secrecy versus wanting to be heard.
Yeah. Because, like, if you're immoral, you're trying to hide everything.
Yeah.
But, like, if you know the way, you're trying to get it out to everybody
But
else.
the immoral woman, when they were talking about it in the Bible, she was standing on the street corner, was it?
Oh, right.
So that wasn't necessarily.
But not announcing herself.
That's true. Well, I mean, the clothing. But she wasn't like, hey! I'm not busy later. You weren't here for last week.
She also worked at night.
See,
That's true.
Yep.
That is true.
In the darkness.
Okay, you're making this weird.
All right. Why is it important that we know what wisdom looks like? Well, obviously, so we can discern between the two, because obviously wisdom is the better way to go.
Obviously.
Obviously. Michaela's
She's
shedding her
injured-
skin over here.
She's injured herself.
The wall.
That didn't take
It
long.
hurts.
Tune in next week to see if she made it.
Meanwhile, in this whole podcast, he's just like,
Trying to get my sweatshirt off. It's hot.
oh gosh, you just made me realize. Well, you guys talk about that. I'm gonna shed my skin.
So,
Leeam, what do you think?
Like you said, it's discernment. You don't want to follow the wrong woman.
Might end up in the wrong places.
yes.
That was deep.
I was trying to go to Walmart, but they took me to Grandma. Oh no.
No. Nope.
Yeah, the biggest way to avoid is understanding what to avoid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not even
So-
getting yourself close to it.
Yeah.
To let it get a foothold.
Like that analogy you came up with last week. Who was it that said that? I think it was Isaac.
No idea.
The
It
slippery
was a
slope.
step
Oh,
up.
yeah,
It's one
yeah.
step up, and it's a big slope down.
Yeah. Anybody else? Are you here, Dan, or are you
I'm
just
here.
Okay.
Just spectating,
He says
apparently.
2 words every section.
It's just like, what are you guys doing? All right, read verses 4 through 11. Book in. Okay.
This is why we need a camera set up.
To you, O men, I call, and my cry is to the children of man. O simple ones, learn prudence. O fools, learn sense. Hear, for I will speak noble things, and from my lips will come what is right. For my mouth will utter truth. Wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are righteous. There is nothing twisted or crooked in them. They are all straight to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her.
Wisdom doesn't give up on the simple one. How is this comforting in your own story? Are you
the
trying to
simple
call
man.
us simple one?
We are simple. That is it.
I didn't say that.
Well, I mean, if you weren't the smartest or the sharpest tool in the shed, and you didn't know that, it'd be comforting to know that you weren't going to be left behind, you know?
Yeah?
But, like, maybe when I was at a stupider age, around 12.
Stupider? You mean younger?
Yes.
That's what he said.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I guess would have been helpful then because I wouldn't have been as smart or wise. And then if I wasn't seeking it, would have been helpful to have it still, you know? I don't know what I'm talking about. Somebody please take this, take it and run.
Yeah, what you said.
Okay. I'm glad we're in the same boat.
That's funny. You know, I like this because it's reminding me of the concept that, like, I'm never too far gone.
Yeah?
Right? That wisdom is always seeking me. And that if I would, no matter how far I've fallen, no matter how idiotic I've been, no matter how sinful I've been, that I'm never too far gone, that wisdom is not still searching for me in the same earnest way.
So it's not like you're just not wise. It's more like you kind of let yourself go a little bit. You become a fool. But then you have to come back, sort of thing.
I completely zoned out.
No,
I feel like I just
Sorry.
zoned Dan out. Just looked up to the sky. He's like,
We're like,
"Well,
God help me.
No, so it's the idea that, like, I was the simple one before I was saved, for sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, even now, as someone that is saved, there are moments where I will go through a season of time where I am the simple one in different aspects of life. And that even in those ruts and those downturns on the roller coaster of life, in those I am still never too far to receive wisdom. And that wisdom is still seeking me in those moments in the same way that wisdom was seeking me before I was saved, when I was young and dumb.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got anything, Gil?
I don't think I have anything other to add, but I do agree with you guys.
Okay. How would you explain the value of wisdom to your younger self?
I think I would tell myself that no matter what you think is important right now, wisdom is more important than anything else.
That's fair. He's giving reaffirming nods. Yes.
This is the nonverbal podcast.
No video, no audio.
Yes, I agree.
We should just have like a narrator in here. Just the sole job is to describe what's going on in the room. Leeam takes his hoodie off.
I have no idea how I would explain it to my younger self. Because I'm still trying to grasp the concept of the importance still. I mean, I understand it, but I'm trying to, like, align it and organize it all in my head still. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I'd probably just describe it as, like, knowledge is sort of like textbook, like, information, but wisdom is sort of like, you know when to use that textbook knowledge sort of thing. But it's more in depth, and it's situational. And it's also being able to be prudent and ahead of time. And prepare. Wow! My younger self totally would have understood that. Like, yeah, dude.
Oh, man. That was great.
Does that make any sense?
That's so funny. I would explain it in the same way that you would explain maybe the value of a savings account to a 10-year-old, or investing to a 10-year-old. Like, this is not you may not understand what I'm communicating as valuable, but should you take this principle, learn it, apply it, then later on in life, this will produce a fruit for you that will be extremely valuable.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
You bear what you sow.
It's reaping and sowing.
Yeah. You bear what you sow, baby.
Come on, you live out in the boonies.
I don't go reaping around.
Reaping.
Okay. Last year I reaped. And then I sowed. My pants back together. Read verses 12 through 21. Please, bookend. Save us. Save me. 12 through 21.
I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and I find knowledge and discretion. The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Pride and arrogance and the way of evil and perverted speech I hate. I have counsel and sound wisdom. I have insight. I have strength. By me kings reign and rulers decree what is just. By me princes rule and nobles all who govern justly. I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently find me. Riches and honor are with me, enduring wealth and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, even fine gold, and my yield than choice silver. I walk in the way of righteousness, in the paths of justice, granting an inheritance to those who love me and filling their treasuries. What on earth were you guys doing?
He was touching my bicep. Oh my gosh. You want to open that door a little bit? It's cooking in here.
It'll help the time go by fast. just
All right. Wisdom is at work around us always. What are some ways / who are some people that you have been able to see God's wisdom in despite them not being saved? I don't hang out with many not saved people. Like, I don't have access to that.
What about at work?
Oh. I didn't think about that. I forgot that I know people now. What?
Man, I'm a functioning adult in America.
He's just having an easy out.
I haven't known them long. I've been there for a month and a half. It's not like I know their deep thoughts and desires.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. Maybe this will help. I had a boss once who, no matter what stupid thing you or someone else had done, no matter how bad you messed up, he was always very gentle with how he communicated. He was very, very calm and collected.
Unlike your boss.
And so with that, I was able to see the proverb principle of like how a gentle answer turns away wrath, right? And how I and the others were able to receive his correction a lot better because he used that wisdom principle with us, even though he was definitely not saved nor a Christian. That's the same thing.
Yeah, they taught us that. Yeah. I can't really say the same for my boss.
I think there's a friend I have in particular that's not a Christian, but I noticed that whenever anything is happening, especially if you screw up and make a mistake and it's directed towards her, she's still very loving towards you. She will forgive mistakes and just overall like a very caring person towards you, no matter what happens, sort of thing. And I think a lot of people think that like, well, you're just being too soft, sort of thing, in this time and generation, but I think it's actually a really good quality to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
You got anything?
I don't get anything, but I'm sure I will once I head to school and I'm surrounded by non-believers and
All that jazz.
get to observe a little bit.
Yeah. I have worked with 3 people very closely for the past month, but they're just nice people. They're not. I haven't seen anything that's Christianly in them, but I haven't seen anything that's not Christianly in them. So, I didn't know there was a point where it could be in between, but
You found it.
Yeah, no, it's the idea that think of certain presidents that maybe we're not saved, but we're really good presidents.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Sure.
Right? And they were really good presidents, mostly, probably due in part at least, to the fact that they followed wisdom principles.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's less that you're finding the Christianity inside of them that they don't have,
Yeah.
and more the fact that they are embracing these wisdom principles that are God's wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, I'll probably figure something out next week.
The question's gone.
Hash him out. I'll just spat it out in the podcast. All right, read verses 22 through 31.
The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts of old. Ages ago I was set up at the first before the beginning of the earth. When there were no depths I was brought forth, when there were no springs abounding with water. Before the mountains had been shaped, before the hills I was brought forth. Before he had made the earth with its fields, or the first of the dust of the world. When he established the heavens I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep. When he made firm the skies above. When he established the fountains of the deep. When he assigned to the sea its limits, so that the waters might not transgress his commands. When he marked out the foundations of the earth, then I was beside him, like a master workman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing before him always, rejoicing in his inhabited world, and delighting in the children of man.
What stands out most to you as wisdom describes its story?
I think for me it's giving the oceans a limit, sort of thing. Because if you think about it, it's hard to...
My brain just went to my whole paper.
It's hard to give the ocean a limit. Obviously we can to a certain extent, but it doesn't usually last long. Things break down, especially with waves and whatnot, and it's kind of cool to see that sort of thing. If that makes any sense. I can't get the words out that I want to say, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. What was that part where it's when the heavens were created, I was there? Was that in there?
Yeah.
That's probably the most interesting part for me. Because, like, that's just crazy to think about. Like, haven't they been there always? Or have they?
Oh my gosh. Here we go.
I'm going way too deep into this.
Just the fact that God used wisdom to create the world.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Excuse me, sorry.
yeah, just the fact that that was present there, and then that wisdom is then, while not as extreme as God's wisdom, is taught to us to help us understand His world.
Yeah. And wisdom delighted in His creation. Do you have anything to critique us on, Dan?
No, I love the idea that wisdom was around before creation. It's a strange concept, I think, as a human being to try to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, before there was creation, before things were created, wisdom was. And you're like, huh? So yeah, the fact that wisdom was around before creation, and then the fact that wisdom delighted in God's creation is even more strange, because it's very easy for us to look at the broken pieces of the world, or like the fallen nature of man, and to say like these are issues, or these are blips on the map. They're the negative aspects, and yet creation, it's a wisdom delighted in that, and so it's kind of cool that wisdom even enjoyed the fact that like we were going to be messed up human beings that were sinful by nature and do all of these wrong things and struggle through life and have to wrestle through all these different things. And wisdom looked at that and said, that's good. That's really good. And that's shocking for me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially my pessimistic side's like, no.
Uh-huh.
Cool. How does this passage add to the validity of God's wisdom?
Just, I think the overall explanation of it. It's hard to... brain's not working. But I mean, if you look at, like, that whole section of it, it's amazing to, like, see how it was explained. And it kind of really shows you, like, just how amazing wisdom is, and that it was there when God created everything, sort of thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And it's also written in, like, the first person, which always weirded me out. Because it's like, I was there, and then... But it's not even a person. It's just wisdom. It's a
wisdom.
It's a thing. So it's like... That part weirds me out.
It's wisdom personified.
Yeah.
And so it's the idea of attributing a person to a thing.
Yeah.
So it's like if you were to attribute grief and personify it, then grief would be this very sad, miserable being of some kind, right?
Yeah.
So wisdom is personified as this woman who is noble and well thought of.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. But who wrote that?
Solomon?
Solomon wrote most of them, of the Proverbs.
But how did he know that wisdom...
Well, think about it, he wrote it, but he, like,
It was through
the Holy Spirit whispered
Because that
it
whole
to him in a
business.
way.
Got a whole business.
Under inspiration of the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
the whole Bible was written.
My brain hurts.
So, how does this passage add to the validity of God's wisdom? I would say also the antiquity of wisdom as to its valid nature. So the fact that wisdom has been around for so long and has been proven right for so long over and over and over and over again adds even more so, in the same way that you and I don't try to, drive on the left side of the road in the United States. Why? Because wisdom has shown through generations.
Don't want to do
like,
that.
you don't want to do that. That's
Yeah.
not wise, right? And so, like, by now, it's not even a question. Like, you just drive on the right side of the road. In America, at least.
Yeah. Most of the time.
Patrick.
Teenagers.
side do
anything,
you
Liam?
drive on?
Any side that I like.
Oh.
And I like the right side.
Sorry.
Coincidentally.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You got anything to add?
Nope.
Okay. Read verses 32 through 33.
And now, O sons, listen to me. Blessed are those who keep my ways. Hear instruction and be wise, and do not neglect it.
What are some lies that can try to lead us away from the truth and the blessing found in God's wisdom? Probably one of the most obvious ones is like people think it limits you, like what you can do, because if you're not having fun, then you're like, it's a weird thing because when you're being wise, most of the time the fun part of life is sort of diminished a little bit, but that is because
It's what you consider fun.
later on that diminishing of fun will add to blessings later on, and it'll like help you out in the end, and it'll actually be better off.
So basically, the
I don't know
concept
what I
you're
just
thinking.
said.
No, that makes sense. So basically, the concept of fun you're thinking of is like drugs, alcohol, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
so when you're using wisdom and you're going, okay, I don't want to do that sort of thing, other people are looking at you like,
Yeah. And partying,
Why?
like, if you should be working, you're just, like, out partying with your friends, but you're not getting anywhere. It's not good. You're not being
does
prudent.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Ooh, it gets hot and I get stupid.
No. It gets hard to explain things.
You got anything, Mikalah, other than what I just said?
What about you? I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Appealing to our nature to rebel or want to do the bad stuff.
That in the world
In the
tells
world.
us it's okay, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh yeah, it's totally fine, but we know obviously that's not the truth. And that's wisdom talking.
Mm-hmm.
And that also comes with that want to be foolish. Like, I wish I didn't hear that because now I'm guilty for doing this thing. When you could have been doing the right thing. Sort of thing.
What? I don't think I followed in that
We're gonna move on. Yeah, so it's the next one, right? Reverses 34 through 36.
Blessed is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting beside my doors. For whoever finds me finds life, and obtains favor from the Lord. But he who fails to find me injures himself. All who hate me love death.
To receive the reward of wisdom, she must be sought after intentionally, not accidentally. What will you do this next week to pursue wisdom?
Good job. I think for me, I've been doing it a lot more lately, but it's like looking for God in just about everything. Because he's everywhere, but like a lot of the time I feel like we don't actively look. And it's fun looking too, because it's like, oh, I can see God in this, and I can see God in that. Like, it's just, it's interesting to do that, and in doing that, sometimes you can find wisdom along the way that you never thought you'd find. It's been an interesting couple of weeks now that I've been doing it. It's just interesting things that you can find out.
Yeah. Got anything, Liam?
Or read the Bible, that too. What was that one Bible verse that says that you should take up the word every day to keep up wisdom? I don't remember how the verse
Are you
went.
sure you're not thinking of the sermon last night? Where it's like you need food from the scripture or whatever?
No, yeah, that too, but I remember reading a verse about it saying that you should take up the word every day. Basically to grow in wisdom, I think is what it said, something like that. I don't remember the verse, I'm not good at remembering that stuff, but there was something along those lines.
Yeah. Well, I recently started reading my Bible because I wasn't doing that for a long time, which is not a good thing. But just like the other day, I started this whole like 365-day plan where I'm going through the whole Bible. And there's like devotionals and sermons and everything. And I feel like it's probably a good way to gain wisdom because I was talking to you about it, and you said if you read the Bible, it seems like you have more answers to everything. And I feel like that sort of goes hand in hand with wisdom, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah. It's always interesting to see what you guys take away from our hours of conversations.
It's always completely different too.
You said this one sentence, and I'm like, did I say that? I think I did in the middle of making a point. Okay, fine. That's funny. Yeah, no, my wife and I, we are trying to read through the Bible together. Right now we're reading through Jeremiah. And it's funny because I feel like, again, wisdom starts with the fear of the Lord, right? And so I feel like God has us reading through this part of the Bible right now for a reason. Because when you read the major and the minor prophets, you're able to see a lot of the unfiltered righteous anger and wrath of God. Where he just is like talking about like all of the things that you normally don't hear in like grace-based churches and these froofy sermons that you'll hear from time to time. And so it's been humbling and very grounding to read about God. I mean, God's saying these words himself too. So it's not like you're like, "What, did he really mean that?" You're like, no, he said it. So I think that has allowed my wife and I to have a better perspective of God and of who God actually is. And I think that the more that you read Scripture, the more you're able to know who God actually is. And in that, you are able to have a healthier reverence and fear of God.
Yeah. So it's like sanctification.
Yeah, in a way.
Roughly. Gotcha. Did you figure out an answer, Leeam? You should have been thinking.
Listen to you guys talk.
That's funny.
Alright. Well, what part of this study's last message stood out to you the most and why?
Wisdom being around since the beginning. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where did it go? I think for me it was that wisdom doesn't give up on the simple one. That really stuck to me. I mean, it's good to look for wisdom, but it's also good to know that it's not going to give up on us if we're not actively looking for it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always there for us when we turn back to it.
It's reassuring.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like once you do it once, you screwed everything up.
Yeah. Probably for me, it'd be wisdom seeks out to bless followers. So, like, it might seem like being wise is a burden, but in reality, wisdom is constantly trying to bless you for following its commandments or whatever. Get what I'm saying? Oh, gosh. I'm running on 4 hours of sleep.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I would say my favorite part was probably when we were studying the part where Wisdom was talking about how it was there when God was creating the limits of the sea and the ocean, and how it's just reminiscent of of the chaos of this world and how things can seem chaotic and out of control and nuts and overwhelming, and yet God in His wisdom is in control of all of that and is controlling the parameters of all of that. And there's something strangely comforting about that because it's very easy for me to know just the fact that like the ocean's nuts and there's waves everywhere.
It's like the tide.
And not to focus on the fact that like God is in control of how far the ocean's going and how high it's going and what it is doing. So that was very comforting for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank you for tuning in. Listening to my weird wild hairs while everybody else was having a good discussion.
I think we all have one.
Well, hopefully we make another next week, and hopefully I can get both of these uploaded. But yeah, thank you for joining us. We might hear you next week. Goodbye. Goodbye.